Hare Krishna, welcome everybody. This is Krishna Dasa. Today we are going to cover Shlokas 8.19 to 8.28, and that pretty much completes chapter 8. So another very important session today. So before we begin, let me say the mantras to Guru and God. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalake Chakshurum Militamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. I'll play the Guru mantra now.
Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
Hare Krishna. All ready? Shall I play the shlokas? Okay. I have shared the translations in the WhatsApp group. So if possible, please keep it in front of you. That way we are all looking at the same version.
Bhutagramah sa evayam bhutva praliyate Ratragame vashah partha prabhavatyah Parastasmatu bhavonyo vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha Yasya sarveshu bhuteshu nashyatsu na vinashyati Avyaktoksara ityuktastamāhuh paramāṃ gatim Yam prāpya na nivartante tadhāma paramam mama Purushah sa parah partha bhaktya labhyastvananyaya Yasyantah sthāni bhūtāni yena sarvamidam tatam Yatra kāle tvanavruttim āvruttim chaiva yoginaha Prayātā yanti tam kālam vakshyāmi bharatashrabha Agnir jyotirah shuklah shanmāsā uttarāyanam Tatra prayātā gachanti brahma vido janāha Dhūmo ratristatha Krishnah shanmāsā dakshināyanam Tatra chandramasam jyotir yogi prapya nivartate Shukla Krishne gati hyete jagatah shashvate mate Ekaya yatyanavruttim manyaya vartate punaha Naide sruti partha janan yogi muhyati kaschana Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu yoga yukto bhavarjuna Vedeshu yagneshu tapassu chaiva Daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam Atyeti tat sarvamidam viditva Yogi param sthanam upaiti chadyam Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Akshara Brahma Yogo Nama Ashtamo Adhyayaha.
Okay, Hare Krishna. I think today Sujata ji and Rajesh ji, they are going to share the...
Yes.
Okay, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Verse 8.19. At the advent of the cosmic night, all manifest beings helplessly merge into the unmanifested aspect of nature. At the dawn of the cosmic day, they emerge again. This multitude of beings repeatedly taking birth dissolve at the approach of cosmic night and re-emerge at the approach of cosmic day, O Partha. 8.20 Transcendental to this manifest and unmanifest creation, there exists another eternal unmanifest dimension beyond the nature we perceive. This realm remains imperishable and does not cease, even when all others do. 8.21 This unmanifested imperishable realm is said to be the ultimate destination. Those who reach it do not return to this cycle of birth and death. This supreme abode is my highest state. 8.22 The supreme divine personality, O Partha, is greater than all that exists and all being well in him. This universe is pervaded by him. Yet, despite his all-pervading nature, he can be known and reached out through exclusive devotion. 8.23 Now I will explain to you, O best of the Bharatas, the times at which yogis departing from this world do or do not return. 8.24 Those who know the Supreme Brahman, the yogis who depart from this world during the bright part of the day, the bright fortnight of the moon, and the 6 months of the sun's northern coast, truly attain the supreme destination. This path, illuminated by the fire of knowledge, leads them to the eternal Brahman, ensuring they do not return to the cycle of birth and death.
8.25 The practitioner of Vedic rituals who pass away during the night, the time of smoke, the dark fortnight of moon, and the 6 months of sun's southern course attain the celestial abodes. This path, marked by its temporal phases, guides them to lunar light, symbolizing a realm of return where they experience the results of their action before embarking on the cycle of rebirth. 8.26 After enjoying celestial pleasures, individuals who depart during the darker temporal phases, such as the night, the time of smoke, the dark fortnight of the moon, and the 6 months of the sun's southern course, inevitably return to the earth. These experiences highlight the existence of two eternal paths in this world, the bright path and the dark path. 8.27 Yogis who understand the secret of these two eternal paths, the bright leading to liberation and the dark leading to rebirth, O Partha, are never bewildered by the cycle of life and death. Therefore, it is essential at all times to remain engaged in yoga or union with God, grasping that profound truth that guides on towards ultimate destination beyond the realms of celestial pleasures and earthly returns. 8.28 The yogis who grasp this profound secret, understanding the dual paths of light and darkness, gain merits far surpassing the fruits obtained through Vedic rituals, the study of Vedas, performance of sacrifices, austerities, and charities. By remaining steadfast in the union with the God, and discerning the essence of these eternal paths, they transcend the cycle of rebirth and celestial pleasures. Such enlightened yogis ultimately reach the supreme abode, attaining liberation and the highest state of existence beyond all temporal bounds. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Much appreciated. I know these were like 10 Shlokas. You both did a beautiful job of sharing it amongst yourself. So let us cover, as you can see, there is such profound wisdom here coming in the end of 8th chapter. So previously Shri Krishna just spoke about Antakale, and he said how thinking about him, you can get him, you can attain him. And then now he goes on and he gives a lot more nuanced details. Like if you are interested, he says, I'll give you the entire science of how the soul transfers from this body and what is the journey looking like. So, like in the previous set of verses, we discussed how even Brahma is born and even Brahma will die. We also discussed that Brahma's 1 day and 1 night equals approximately 8.64 billion years. I've given the entire calculation in my notes in the last session. So when Brahma, what happens when Brahma's day ends? That is when all the living entities, they get unmanifest. See the language used here? The language used here is not disappears or dissolves or dies. The language used here is they all get unmanifest. So you will see the tatparya behind this in the next 2 shlokas. So what happens when they get unmanifest? They get back and they stay in the body of Maha Vishnu. Now, does anybody remember? We spoke about 3 types of bodies everybody has. Who remembers? What are those 3 types of bodies we all have? Okay, I have one hand.
Shariram, sthūla shariram, sūkshma shariram.
Excellent. And there is one more, sthula shariram, sūkṣhma shariram, and what is the third?
Karana.
Yes, Sulataji?
Karana sharir.
Karana sharir. Excellent. We covered all 3. Excellent. Thank you. So these are the 3 bodies we discussed. Sthula sharir is your gross body. That is what right now we are seeing. I can see Deepa, I can see Apurva, Suchita. This is the sthula sharira, the gross body. And then there is one layer outside of it that is called the sūkṣhma sharira, which is the subtle body. But then there is this final body, which is the karana sharira. Karana sharira means causal body. So when Brahma's night, when Brahma's day ends, all of us, our souls go back to Maha Vishnu. At that point, there is only karana sharira. The sūkṣhma sharira is gone, the sthula sharira is gone. That is what it means by saying that we become unmanifest again. And then when Brahma's night ends, when Brahma's day starts, all those souls, they get reborn again. But then again, we say they get manifested again. Unmanifest and manifest. And when they manifest, how do they manifest? How is it decided whether you become a sannyasi or whether you become a king or whether you become a thief or, Now that depends on your past karmas and past sanskāras. It's very profound, very beautiful. Pay attention. The question that should come is, but then we already became unmanifest. Our gross body was gone. Our subtle body was gone. So how are we still bound by karma? How are we still bound by sanskāras? Yes, that is because it is the karana sharira, the causal body, which is holding the account of all your karmas and sanskāras. And that body does not get destroyed. No escape. So even when the entire universe gets unmanifest, it doesn't mean that now I'm escaping from my karmic account or I'm escaping from whatever sanskāras I've built, because it stays with your karana sharira. Now, when does that karana sharira get destroyed? There is only one option. That option is when you get true liberation and when you unite with God. That is the only time when you get free from your karana sharira. That is when you get free from all your karmic accounts, all your sanskāras. I hope this is clear. The other thing to pay attention is, in the shloka, Shri Krishna uses the word avashaha. That basically means helpless. So what Krishna says is, when it is time, when Brahma's day ends, when it is time for everybody to become unmanifest again, that process happens, you don't have any say in that. In other words, we are all going to be part of that process helplessly. Doesn't matter who you are. You can be a king, you can be a rishi muni, you can be a sant. It doesn't matter. When it has to happen, it will happen, and we will all be part of it helplessly. That is the word avashaha there. So, that should keep us more humble. This realization that at the end of the day, we are all under the control of Prakriti. We are all under the control of the laws of the universe. So all this jumping around saying, I have free will, it's my life. No, that's all very limited. whatever free will we think we have is not that free. Our free will is taking us only so far. Beyond that, we are all bound by the same universal laws, by Prakriti. We cannot escape that. We have to understand that. Now, the thing we need to understand is everything that is manifested, that you can see today, was unmanifested at some time. Okay? And everything will again become unmanifested at some time in the future. So this game of manifesting, unmanifesting keeps going on. But what we have to try and comprehend is, there was that state, a state where everything was together. And everything was in that same common unmanifested state. And from there, all this variety has come. Okay, so I will try to use a simple example, modern example, to try and explain that. Okay, so software, that is the most common profession today. So we will take that example. Software. So a software developer goes and creates a revolutionary new application. Now he is using or she is using whatever programming language, but then that language already existed. Correct? Now, can we say that whatever this app is, let us say you create an app for shopping, okay, and you create that app using, say, a very popular program, Java. Now, can we say that the potential for this app already existed in Java? I mean, that potential already existed. Somebody just helped manifest it. So that is the way we have to look. Slightly different way of looking now. Instead of saying somebody created an app, the way we look at it is, the potential for that app was already existing in the programming language. So that was in an unmanifested state. And somebody helped give it shape. Somebody helped manifest it. So if you look at it that way, I think this concept will become clearer, of souls getting manifest and unmanifested. Just like that you say, we are creating beautiful pots. Lot of beautiful pots we create, we paint them and all. But then those pots all came from mud. So can we say that the potential for the pot already existed in the mud? So can we say that the pot was in an unmanifested state in the mud and somebody helped manifest it into a pot? Make sense? So in other words, this is the Vedantic concept. The Vedantic concept basically says, whenever you say creation, whenever you say somebody created something, the Vedantic concept says, basically it is just the manifestation of what was in an unmanifested state. In other words, it was already there. It was just not manifested. And somebody is just instrumental in making it manifest. Make sense? Now try to think this way, try to change your thought this way, then the Vedantic concept of the soul's journey will make more sense. Now we can also, like I just said, whether you are born as a king or whether you are born as a soldier or a thief or whatever, I said it all depends on your karmic account, sanskāras. When we say sanskāras, we are basically saying your inner nature. Does it ring a bell? We studied about this in previous chapters of Bhagavad Gita. We spoke about your inner nature. That is what determines how you are manifesting. Now let me give a very simple example. Let us say there are a few professionals, okay? Let us say there is I'll give a random example. Okay, let us say you have a engineer, you have a teacher, you have a musician, you have a painter. Now let us say they are all sitting around a table eating food. Now you are walking from outside somewhere, you enter a room and you see these 5 people sitting around a table and having food. Can you just look at them and say, this has to be a painter, this has to be an engineer, this has to be a teacher? No, you cannot say that. Correct? Because they all look the same. I mean, they are all humans, they are all performing a common act of eating food. You cannot say. However, once they start engaging in their own activities, once the teacher starts teaching, once the musician starts playing music, once the artist starts painting, that is when you can say, oh, this is a painter, this is a musician, this is a teacher. But a few minutes ago, they were sitting on a table. At that time, you couldn't say who was what. So that is the same way. When you are in an unmanifested state, we are all the same. We have all gone back to Maha Vishnu and we are all still there in our karana sharira. We are all similar. But then we have our inner nature. We have our sanskāras. So when we come and play on the field of the material world, that is when those inner sanskāras become obvious. That is how a painter will start painting, a teacher will start teaching, a king will start ruling, a thief will start stealing. Does it make sense? So that is the whole concept of when manifestation again happens, you are manifested based on your karmic account and your sanskāras. So this is a very empowering concept because it gives the power to you. That if you want a certain life, then you take care of your karmic account, you take care of your sanskāras. God doesn't play partiality. He will never say that, I don't like you, so I'm going to put you in a ditch. It doesn't work that way. So it is a very empowering concept. Okay, just give me just 2 minutes. My younger son, he is leaving. He's going back to Quebec. So I'll just say bye to him. He's standing there. His taxi has just come. So give me just 2 minutes. Yeah. Okay, apologies. Thank you for your patience. I'm back.
All the best to him. All the best to him.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So as I was saying, it's a very empowering concept that we just have to work on our sanskāras, we just have to work on our karmic account, and that will pretty much determine how our current life is going to be. It's also going to determine how our next life is going to be. And it also determines whether no more life is going to happen. That is all in our hands. So, it's a very, very important concept. And what Vedanta says is our actions and our thoughts, our current actions and the thoughts that we have currently, they are all the results of past inclinations and past choices. And they are giving rise to your thoughts and actions now. And the universe is also a product of its own inherent tendencies becoming manifest. So that is why it's very important for us to reflect on the nature of our actions, our thoughts. We have to recognize that we are not just shaped by our past, but we are also shaping our future right now. Right now, whatever you are thinking, a lot of it depends on what your thoughts and actions were in the past. That much is clear? Because in the past, whatever you did, they created your sanskāras. Your sanskāras are making you think and do things a certain way now. That part is clear. But what is also important to understand is whatever you are thinking now, right now, your thought process, whatever you are doing right now, that is determining your future. So it's a constant play of past and future, and we are the instruments. And we are empowered to change our future. That is what they actually mean when they say, destiny is in your hands. That doesn't mean that I'm all powerful. I can do whatever I want. That is not what it means. What it means is your thoughts and your actions are shaping your future. So be very conscious and very aware, very mindful of your thoughts and actions right now in the present. And as you can understand, once you understand this, you will understand this is the reason why you cannot make transformations abruptly like this. Like today you are a bhogi, tomorrow you suddenly don't become a yogi. No, because you are a bhogi because of so much sanskāras, so much of karmic accounts that you have had. You cannot just drop all the baggage like this and suddenly become a yogi. What happens? It's a game. You take 2 steps ahead, you take 2 steps behind. You go 1 step up, you go 1 step down. That is what we are busy doing all our lives. One day we do something good, next day we do something bad. One moment we have a good thought, the next moment we have a bad thought. So what is happening? We are constantly like in this game, seesaw game. And we don't really make long-term progress because of that. Is that clear? Making sense? Now it will make more sense why Shri Krishna keeps saying Ananya Chintan. Now it will make sense why Krishna says you have to be consistent. That consistency is key. You cannot say that I will be healthy for 2 days, I will fall sick for 3 days, then again I will be healthy for 2. What are you doing with your life? Just like that, you cannot say, I'm climbing 2 steps up and the next day I will climb 2 steps down. Okay, you are busy, but are you going anywhere? So if you really want liberation, if that is your goal, then you have to make sure that your thoughts are always aligned in that direction. Your actions are always aligned in that direction so that you don't get distracted. That is the whole reason why Ananya Chintan is so important. Yeah, I hope that's making sense. So Shri Krishna will keep repeating the same things in many different ways until we get it. Okay. So, yeah. Now this other concept, which is a continuation of what we just explained. We explained that this whole manifesting, unmanifesting that keeps going on, and this is Krishna's Yoga Maya. This is what Krishna himself said, that I am doing all this manifesting based on my own Yoga Maya only. That is why we call it Maya, because what we see is just what is manifested. So Krishna is saying that this field where the Yoga Maya plays, this field where this game is going on, of unmanifesting, manifesting, unmanifesting, manifesting, Krishna says that field is what is called as the material world. Because in this world, there is this constant game going on of something manifesting, something unmanifesting. So it's a constant change. And he says that is what is known as the material world. And Shri Krishna says, but this game and this kind of manifesting, unmanifesting does not happen in the spiritual realm. That is his realm. And that is the realm that we want to aim for. That is the realm that we go to when we get liberation. So what do we mean by liberation? Liberation doesn't just mean freedom from earth. Liberation basically means freedom from this whole game of manifest, unmanifest, going back and forth all the time. You go to another level, which is the spiritual realm, where there is no more manifesting, unmanifesting. You are forever with Shri Krishna. Now this part is a little difficult to comprehend for people. So I'm going to again use a simple example. So we can again take the same example of a smartphone, because we use it every day. It's the example everybody quickly understands. Now throughout the day we are using the smartphone for so many different things, correct? Like in the morning we are checking the weather so that we know whether we should take an umbrella. Later we use maybe Google Maps when we are going somewhere, or we use a calculator, or we use this app, or we use a shopping app. Hundreds of apps we are using throughout the day. Now as you can see, each app changes the screen, changes the display of your phone. It looks different. But does it change the phone itself? No. So you're already getting the concept. The phone doesn't change. Although the apps make the screen look different, every app will look it different. Every app will make it behave differently. But it is not changing the phone itself. So the phone remains the same, although the apps give you the illusion of a lot of different changes happening to the phone. Correct? It looks as if the phone became a map, or the phone became a shopping app, or the phone became a music player. No, the phone is not becoming any of that. The phone is a phone. But these apps are creating that perception. Correct? So this is another example that you can understand when we say there is an unchanging aspect. So we speak about that which is ever changing and that which is never changing. So this is another simple example using which you can comprehend what we are trying to say. if there is something ever changing, then there has to be a platform from which they change. And that platform is the never changing. Just like here, the phone was not changing, but you need that phone to see the ever changing apps. The apps that change into a map, that app that change into a music player or shopping app or whatever. It is kind of hard because, see, I'll give you another example. Like people who are technical, who have been in software, they know that there is something called as the operating system. Like everybody says, I have an Android phone, but I want to ask you, how many of you have actually seen Android? We say Android phone, but have you seen Android? What is Android? It's the operating system, but that is what is required for anything to happen on that phone. For any of the apps to work, you need that Android, but then you cannot see that Android. And it is that unchanging, it is part of that unchanging reality. But what I'm trying to say, what I'm trying to explain here is, for any of these players to exist, for any of these games to exist, the game of change, constant change, for that to exist, there has to be a base which is not changing. And that is the Vedantic concept we are trying to understand. So what happens is, we are all caught up in the apps of our lives. We are too engrossed in the apps of our lives. Our feelings, our thoughts, our emotions, they are all like apps. They're changing a million times a day, right? And we are all caught up with that. And we don't pay attention to what is not changing. What is more important is that operating system, which is supporting all of that. Okay? And we fail to understand the mechanism of how these apps work. What is the basis of these apps? And Krishna is leading us there. That is why saying detach. Because attachment means I'm holding tightly to my app. And I'm believing that is the phone. And Krishna is saying, you are mistaken. If you want to truly understand the reality, you have to first detach, let go of that app, so that you can now figure out the actual source of that app. There is this big question now. If as I say, if there is an unchanging foundation, then is that the ultimate thing we should care about? In other words, is the operating system the ultimate thing that we should care about? Is that the absolute? Or is there something even more important? Now this question is making us think deeper into what is more important, what is really important. And that is what I'm trying to achieve here, is make us all think. Okay, we understood that it is not the app that we should focus on. Then what should we focus on? Is it the operating system that we should focus on? Okay, so in the Vedantic text, you will see the term the other unmanifest. So what does it mean? So you continue the same idea. You take the same idea even further of the smartphone analogy, and you try to think, what is the deeper reality? Then you will understand that, okay, the operating system is there, and operating system itself depends on a processor. And we call that the intelligent processor. If there is no processor, the operating system is itself useless. Okay, you can now take this analogy, think about it. It may seem like too much, but think about it. And then go back to the previous 2 sessions earlier, where we discussed all the different concepts of Purusha, Prakriti. We had so many terms we used there, and see if you are able to find a mapping between this example and those Vedantic concepts that we discussed, and you will find it. Okay, so there is an intelligent processor, which is the hardware, which is absolutely never changing. Even the operating system requires that hardware to function. Everybody agrees to at least this much. Everybody knows that there is an intelligent processor in our smartphone. Okay, even in your laptop or computer, we have that. We call it the intelligent processor. So this intelligent processor is what in Vedanta we call it as Brahman. When they say the absolute Brahman. Because the processor doesn't even care if it is iOS or Android or Symbian or whatever the operating system. The processor doesn't care even about that. So that is why we say it is a nirguna nirakar. And that is the basis for everything. So if you can understand this analogy of apps always changing, we get caught up with it, but that is not reality. There is an operating system behind which is supporting all of this. But then the operating system can also be different operating systems, and then beyond all of that, there is one intelligent processor, which is the absolute reality for your smartphone, just like that it is the absolute reality for our existence. Now, why we are talking about that is the problem. What is the problem? Now, I think some of you already are thinking in that direction. The problem is, now I'll tell you what you are going to think. If somebody comes to you and says, I don't believe that there is an intelligent processor because I can't see it. I mean, they are showing you their map application and they are saying, show me where is the processor. Now, what are you going to tell them? I mean, they can never find the processor as long as they are searching in their map application. Or if they are searching in their music application, or they are searching in their shopping application, if they are trying to search for the processor in those applications, they are never going to find it. Just like that, the same. Now this makes sense. But this is the same thing when somebody comes to us and says, I don't believe that God exists because I can't see God. How can you see God? Where are you looking for God? You are trying to look for God in the manifested material realm. Just like you are trying to search for the processor within the map application, you are never going to find the processor there. Just like that, you cannot find God there. Doesn't mean God doesn't exist. We just don't know where to look. Making sense? This is the problem. This is the paradox. What is the paradox? Is we get attached to the apps of our life and we demand the evidence of the processor in those apps, which is beyond common sense. We are not going to find it there. If we have to find the processor, we have to elevate ourselves away. We have to know that there is something more than the apps. What is required to do that? What are we actually asking you to do there? Detach from that app. Makes sense? If you are attached and you are saying, I cannot switch off this app, it's my favorite app, you show me God there, is it going to be possible? You show me the processor there, you are never going to find it. So you have to first detach from that app. This is the reason why Krishna's other important message is detachment. Now this will probably make more sense. So when Krishna keeps saying avoid attachment, this is the reason. Because when you are attached, what are you attached to? You are attached to that which is not real. Because everything that you see, that you can touch is not real. It is a game. It is a game of manifested, unmanifested that we just studied. So Krishna is saying, but if you want to really know the truth, if you want to know that which is the cause of all this, then you have to first detach from this. You cannot hold tightly to this and expect to realize the truth. That is why detachment is so important. So Krishna is not trying to make you, emotionless or a piece of stone. Krishna is actually trying to explain how the whole thing works, what is the whole mechanism. And he's trying to beautifully explain how you can understand the truth, and the first thing to do is detachment. Is that all making sense now, slowly? Yeah, maybe we will go through a few different aspects of it. But if something doesn't absolutely make sense, you can always ask me a question. So all this, Krishna is also explaining that this whole cycle of birth, rebirth, it's all, as we said, sanskāras. And there is one more term used in the Vedantic text. That term is vasanas. Vasanas means, like today, each one of us in this room, we all have some desires that we don't express, but it is still there. We all have it. I mean, we are humans. We took a human birth because we had some desires. Just like that, even now, if you look deeply within you, if you're honest enough, you will realize and you will acknowledge that you do have desires. They may not always be on the surface. You may not be telling that to anybody, but it is there. Those are what are known as vasanas, unfulfilled desires. And the point is, you can never truly fulfill a desire. That is why Krishna says, don't run behind desires. But these vasanas, they are also a very strong force that will keep you in this cycle of birth and death. Because you will yourself want to be manifested again. You will yourself want to be born again because you have these vasanas and you think you want to fulfill them. Makes sense? So this is another paradox of thinking that I will keep taking births until my desire is fulfilled. And the joke is on us. Because by definition, we just studied in earlier chapters of the Bhagavad Gita that a desire can never be fulfilled. So as long as we are in this game, as long as we are having these desires, guess what? You are going to keep coming again and again and again and again. That is where Krishna's next command is avoid those desires. See, now this will all make sense, because this will all make sense why Krishna was telling us all those things. Why was he talking about detachment? Why was he talking about don't keep desires? It's not that he doesn't want you to enjoy life. It is that he wants you to understand life. Now somebody will ask, how can you say, or why is it that somebody who doesn't have desires, what happens when you reach that state, no desires, no attachments, you realize the self. And then we are saying that when you realize the self, you don't come back. So somebody can ask, why is it that somebody who has realized the self, why is it that they don't come back to the cycle of birth and death? That question comes. It has come in the past. That's why I'm myself telling you this question comes. Now, this question doesn't really make sense, because imagine somebody is asking you, why is it that somebody who never committed a crime never goes to the jail? And you are like, what question is that? Like somebody is asking, why is it that if you don't commit a crime, you don't go to jail? And you are like, what kind of a question is that? Correct? Just like that, this question of why is it that when you are self-realized, you don't take birth, is the same question basically. Because this birth and death is like a jail. The actual question should be, why are we experiencing the limitation in the first place? In other words, why are we in this jail should be the question. Not, why do you think if I don't commit a crime, I will not be in a jail? That is not the right question. The right question to ask is, why am I in the jail? Understand that. All Krishna is saying is, understand that, and that should make us keep liberation as our focus. Of course, when you are advancing in Bhakti Yoga, later on you will realize that even moksha should not be your goal. It's beyond that as well. But at least for all practical purposes, we can say that moksha should be our goal. Liberation should be our goal, so that we are at least not in the jail. We are getting out of the jail. And then Krishna says, once you reach liberation, then you reach Goloka. That is the spiritual realm that he was talking about earlier. And he says there, you're going to receive a divine body, and that divine body is used only for divine pastimes, engaging in all activities related to the Lord. And Krishna has repeatedly said, like, the only way to reach that is through bhakti. So see how Krishna functions. He doesn't stand and give you an order saying, do this just because I told you to do. Correct? He explains everything beautifully, and then he leads you to those conclusions. So he leads you to come to those conclusions. And here Krishna is also adding a term, ananyaya, which means by no other path can one know God. So Krishna is very, very, very explicit. The only way, he says, is through bhakti. He says, I've explained you the whole mechanism, I've explained you the science, I've explained you all those technical things, manifesting, unmanifesting, that which is ever-changing, that which is that, and Goloka, and liberation, and vasanas, and I've explained to you everything, he says. Now, based on this explanation, you have to arrive to your own conclusion that for me, my goal should be liberation. And he says, once you have reached that conclusion, based on all this knowledge I have given you, then I can tell you if that conclusion you have arrived at, good. Now I am telling you, if you want to reach that destination, the only way is through bhakti. So all the other paths should lead you to this decision-making point, the point where you are able to make that decision. Once you have made the decision, go get onto the wagon of Bhakti Yoga, and that will take you to Goloka. That is the whole message there. Okay. Now let us also, for the sake of completeness, let us go and look at what Krishna says about the paths, how the soul travels. So Krishna says that there are two paths from the manifest to the unmanifest. So when we die, what happens to the soul? So Krishna is saying technically there are two paths there. And he says by detachment, you can actually choose the right path. And if you choose the right path, he says it is possible to again achieve eternal union with the God. Now what Krishna says is the pure devotees who are totally surrendered, who leave everything in Krishna's hands, they find it easier to return to Godhead. I mean, that's very straightforward, I think. That's obvious. But Krishna says, but those who are not pure devotees, and those who instead depend on all the other types of yogas, like somebody wants to be a karmi, somebody wants to be a jnani, or somebody wants to be a Raja Yogi. He says for these kind of people, the path is still there. But he says, they have to calculate the time when they need to leave the body. They have to be very precise. And if they leave the body at the right time, then they can still make sure that they don't repeat this journey again. Okay, he says, but for that, the yogi has to be perfect. And Krishna says, but if they make a mistake, then they will again be back. See, this is the reason why in Mahabharata, we have this famous story of Bhishma Pitama. When Arjuna had pumped him with all those arrows, Bhishma Pitama says, I will pick a time when I want to die. Because he anyways has this boon of Icha Mrityu, right? But what was Bhishma waiting for? What was so special about that time that Bhishma Pitama was looking for to leave his body? That is what is contained in this Bhagavad Gita, especially in these Shlokas. To look at 8.20 to 8.28, there Krishna has given the technical details very, very clearly. Okay? You can go read all of that. It's very detailed. It's very interesting also. So he says that the Bhishma Pitama chose the auspicious day of Uttarayana. So that is the day when the sun starts moving north. As you all know, the sun moves north-south. So that is when the sun starts moving northward after completing the 6-month period of Dakshayana. So these are the two phases, Uttarayana and Dakshayana. And Uttarayana is supposed to be the auspicious period to leave. Now Krishna is also telling us very clearly this whole science. Okay? And then he's saying based on this timing, there are two paths. One is the path of light and path of darkness. So what is the path of light? That is what he explains, that it is called as the fortnight of Shukla, the ascending moon, the Uttarayan, where the sun is going towards the north. They are all considered the time of the night. And when we depart the body, carefully calculating how many of us can actually calculate and say, this is when I'm going to leave my body? I mean, if you are that kind of a yogi, then this applies to us. So that is what Krishna is trying to tell us. If you are that kind of a perfect yogi, who can precisely calculate and say, this is the exact moment when I am going to leave the body. If you are that perfect a yogi, then listen, I will tell you what that calculation should be. And he is telling us what that calculation is. And he also says what happens to the others, or what happens if you make a mistake. If you miss the mark, then what happens? Even being a perfect yogi, if you are not timing it perfectly, then he says, your soul is going to follow the dark path. And which means you will reach the moon or some other such planet where you will enjoy for some time and you will be back when your period is over. So what is net? What is Krishna's message again? Krishna says, here is all the technicalities, here is all the details. See, it is like that. It is like Krishna is giving you the entire user manual for your car. Now, tomorrow your car is making funny noises. Now, you can spend hours using the user manual and trying to mess with your car yourself, or you can just take it to a mechanic, and tell him, "Bhai, just fix my car for me." That's the same thing Krishna is saying. He's saying, I'm giving you the manual. If you are curious, I'm giving you all the details, all the technicalities, all the formulas, everything I'm showing you. Now, looking at all of that, you can either choose the path of ego and say that, yes, now I'm going to figure it all out myself. Or you can choose the path of humility and say, oh my God, this is too much. No, why am I going to worry about all of that? Krishna, you only take care of me. And Krishna says, that is the path of bhakti. And he says, so I'm giving you all the details. I'm also giving you the shortcut. Just have devotion to me and I will take care of you if you have that devotion. There are three main things he has said. One is detachment. Second is lack of ego, pride. And the third is ananya chintan, consistency. He says, take care of three things now. Oh, how hard is that? Then I will take care of. Then he says, you don't have to worry about any of the calculations I have just told you. You don't have to worry about any of the technicalities I have just explained. Okay, I will take care of you. No matter when you die, I will make sure you come to the right place. That's the easy option, right? Okay. So Rupa Goswami also says, Anasaktasya visayan yatarham upayunjataha. Be unattached or be detached from the material world, and whatever you are doing, do it in Krishna consciousness. This is already what we discussed. Devotion in action. And that system of devotion in action is also called as Yukta Vairagya. And when you practice Yukta Vairagya, you are going towards perfection. So the Ramcharitmanas, it is said, Ved Purana Sab Grantah Kere Karma Kanda Rahit Bhagati Fere. All the Vedas, all the Puranas, all the scriptures, they are trying to circulate around the ritualistic aspects, whereas pure devotion circumvents the whole thing. So you can either try to be perfect in all the rituals, spend multiple lifetimes to become perfect, or choose the path of bhakti and just don't even care about the rituals. You will directly reach Krishna. So before we conclude, I also want to talk about one aspect of how to understand or how to learn the Bhagavad Gita. And we should understand this with the intent of developing bhakti and purifying ourselves. So this is my request is, although we are covering a lot of interesting details and a lot of interesting terms and techniques and all of that, deep inside our intent should be, when I complete reading the Bhagavad Gita, I should have developed bhakti. I should have developed pure devotion to the Lord. So make that intent prominent in your mind and Krishna will make sure that happens. So that is the first thing that we should know, we should do whenever we are studying Bhagavad Gita. And the second thing, we should learn and study in the association of devotees, satsanga. This is not my gyan, this is what Krishna and all the other great saints have said. Is when you study, first of all, the intent has to be clear. Second, you have to study in a satsang. You have to, and that is why this satsang is so important. That is why I am grateful for each and one of you for making this satsang possible. Because that gives extra power, potency to what we are learning. And Swami Prabhupada, he has given a concluding notes on the 8th chapter where he has said that one who has a little faith in the Bhagavad Gita, he should learn the Bhagavad Gita from another devotee. Because in the beginning of the 4th chapter, it is stated clearly that Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees. No one else can perfectly understand the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. One should therefore learn Bhagavad Gita from a devotee of Krishna and not just from some mental speculators. Even Swami Prabhupada, the qualification he is saying for teaching Bhagavad Gita is you should be a devotee. Automatically means you have taken care of your pride, you are in a mode of detachment, and you are striving for bhakti. Correct? And then he continues, Prabhupada says, I'm quoting him, he says, this is a sign of faith. When one searches for a devotee and fortunately gets a devotee's association, one actually begins to study and understand the Bhagavad Gita. See, Prabhupada is saying, when you find a devotee and when you have their association, that is when your study starts. That is when you are actually able to understand in the true sense the Bhagavad Gita. And then he says, with this association, you are placed in devotional service, and this service dispels all misgivings about Krishna or God and Krishna's activities, pastimes, and other features. That is also clear, right? So he's saying if you are studying in the association of devotees, then you will not have any misunderstandings, and you will not have any lame questions also. You will be in the right mindset, in the right track. He says once all these misgivings are perfectly cleared away, one becomes fixed in one's study. Then one relishes the study of Bhagavad Gita. And then he attains the state of feeling always Krishna conscious. In that advanced stage, one falls completely in love with Krishna. This highest perfectional stage of life enables the devotee to be transferred to Krishna's abode in the spiritual sky Goloka, where the devotee becomes eternally happy. So with that, we conclude the 8th chapter. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for your association. I would say it's a major milestone. 8th chapter is. So yeah, thanks to all of you. Hare Krishna. So with that, I'll open the floor. If you have any questions, comments, please go ahead. Everybody is so thoughtful. I don't know. Lakshmiji, 1 second. Were you saying something?
Saying you muted me, no, because the example he told, the internal process and then everything, no, but everything is inside that phone only, all the software, everything, but it is detached. So like that only. It's very beautiful example, easily understanding the concept that's I want to say that one.
Thank you.
Because
thank you.
we are in the world of modern world, that's according to that one, how it is. So that
Thank
I want
you.
to point out.
Thank you, Lakshmiji. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Hare Krishna. Yes, what about others? Everybody understood everything? They're all ready to
I
follow
had a question, but I forgot.
Very good. That means it was not important question.
Yeah, might be you were explaining and explaining. I was writing, and I just forgot that question. I thought I will ask in the last.
No worries.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I had a question. You mentioned that we need to move further from our desires. So what if these desires are towards fulfilling our duties?
Fulfilling your duties, you have to fulfill your duties without attachment, right? Karmanya vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So it is not desire, it is just you are doing what is rightful action. And all Krishna is saying is, when you have a desire for something material, try to replace it with desire for the divine. So the desire you can still keep, but just replace the object of your desire. And that is the easy way to channelize that power of desire in the right direction. Yes, Sulataji? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Sulataji had a question, and then Deepaji, and then Ekansh. Yes, Sulataji?
No, it's not a question. I'm just trying to remember the previous chapter, I think chapter 5, as we learned, divine. I know it is not easier, it's easier said than done. But as you said, divine knowledge, which leads to bhakti, can burn our past karmas.
Yes.
And now we learned that karmic accounts, sanskāras are the responsible, factors. So this bhakti has such a power that it can burn our previous sanchita karma or whatever karmas are, and currently present, as you said, reducing to zero, not having ownership, doership, detachment. That is the science of nishkama karma, can take care of our current karmic account. So liberation.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, she brings a very important point that we discussed. So whatever your state is, you multiply that by your karma, and that is what your future state is going to be. But if your state is 0, then doesn't matter, you multiply 0 with anything, it still remains 0. So that is why Krishna said, reduce yourself to 0 first. That is bhakti. Bhakti is my pride, I'm keeping it down. My ego, I'm keeping it down. So that means I'm making myself 0. And then nothing will impact you. Then no karma is going to impact you, because karma multiplied by 0 is 0. So thank you, Sulataji, for reminding me of that. Deepaji, what was your question?
This chapter you were focusing the last part in terms of how the yogis who are perfectionists and choose the time of their death, which is not possible for us.
Correct.
So I was trying to reiterate what you were trying to say. So for us, it's, detachment, let go for ego and bhakti. But how? What I'm trying to say, then what we as individuals should be working towards, try to reiterate on the same point.
Correct. That is exactly what we should do. We should let go of our pride and ego, and we should practice vairagya, detachment, and we should be consistent, ananya bhakti. This is enough. You do these things, it's enough. The point is, you have to do it with your own free will. Only then it is going to be effective, and that is why Krishna is giving all this knowledge. He's saying, I'm telling you everything so that you can look at all of that, like you yourself came to the conclusion that I'm not a yogi who can time my death. Good. Because that is helping you yourself make that decision that I need to now choose bhakti. And you are not choosing bhakti just because somebody is standing with a stick and saying, do bhakti because I'm asking you to do bhakti. That's never going to work. So this is the whole idea. So it's a very empowering thing. Thank you for, revising that again.
I think you cannot choose the time, but you can think about whenever you're facing that, you can think of God at that time. You cannot choose the time, so you can think of God. So if you have to think of God at the time of your death, then all through your life you should be thinking of God. That
exactly.
Then you something like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's within our hands. Yeah.
Exactly.
So.
Totally true. So that is why Krishna first spoke about what you need to do in the Antakale. And then he dives deep. He says, okay, then if you are more curious, if you want to know more, then I'm giving you all these details. Yeah. Ekansh, what was your question?
Guruji, I remember the thing. It was like, what I felt like it is destiny. Whatever is going to happen, it is already written, right?
Who wrote it?
This is what everybody tell us, like Krishna has already written, everything happens is already written, and everything it's destiny. Whatever is going to happen is already destined.
See, that is a escapist route, na? So tomorrow, if you are really rude with somebody, you can just say, oh, it was already destined. Or tomorrow, if you do something immoral, then you can very conveniently say it was destined. No, that is not what it is. The destiny, basically, as we just explained in this whole session, is it all depends on your own karma. So that is what is destiny. Is right now what you are thinking is deciding your destiny for the next day, next year, next few years. Do you remember the story we discussed where Yudhishthir and I don't remember if it was Yudhishthir or if it was Arjuna, but they are going with Krishna. I think it was Yudhishthir only, where they are talking. There is a poor Brahmin that Yudhishthir is trying to help, but no matter how much he is helping, that Brahmin never seems to benefit. Sometimes a thief comes and steals something. Sometimes his wife goes and.
Yeah.
You remember that story? So what was the actual essence? At one point, that Brahman had a good thought, where he said, oh, that poor fish. He said, what am I going to do with this little amount of money anyways, let me as well save that fish. So he tried saving that fish, and that money he used to buy that fish was the one small penny that Krishna had given him. So when Yudhishthira gave him loads and loads of money, that didn't help him. Because of his own thoughts, his own thought process, his own karma. Whereas when Krishna gave him a penny, knowingly or unknowingly, that caused a positive thought in his mind, where he said, let me save a fish. Now that generated a positive karma which changed the next future for him. You know? So it is both empowering as well as... But what if you don't know? What if you are not aware of this knowledge? What if you don't understand? You means anybody for that. I'm not pointing you out. Anybody. What if we don't understand this mechanism? Then everything will look destined. You know, because we don't understand that what is happening is because of our own past thoughts and past actions. We don't understand. So we think whatever is happening to us is because somebody has written it for us. Makes sense? So yes, there is a destiny, but the destiny was chosen by you. So in the past birth, you had some karmic account that you have come to clear in this birth. So in this birth, if you remain ignorant, then you are totally under the mercy of that karmic account. You will have to fulfill it. So that will look like somebody wrote your destiny, but no third person is sitting and writing it. It is what you yourself have created for yourself. But if you have that knowledge, then use that knowledge to cultivate positive thoughts and generate positive karma now. So that from now onwards, you can influence your future in a positive way. Okay, makes sense?
Yes, Guruji.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, anybody else had any last questions? I don't want to keep you too long. I know it's been a long session. Okay, I also need to solicit volunteers for the revision. So next week we are going to revise 8th chapter. Okay. Awesome. I don't see Chitraji's hands, I think. Okay. Yes, Tanujaji is also there.
I'm in, Guruji. I'm also in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. So I will, as usual, I will create questions. I will share it with all of you. Before closing, am I missing any other question from anybody, or shall we close for the day? Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. See you all in the next week. Let us do the revision then.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.